A waitress served Trump at a diner to pay for her husband's medication. But when he heard her story, the Mercers were the epitome of the American dream. Until they weren't. Jack Mercer, a skilled carpenter, and his wife Alina, a dedicated elementary school teacher, had built a comfortable life for themselves and their two children, 17-year-old Zach and 12-year-old Mia, in the suburbs of Charlotte, North Carolina. Their modest two-story home, which Jack had lovingly renovated over the years, was filled with the warmth of family photos, the aroma of Elena's famous lasagna, and the sound of Zach's guitar practice, mingling with Mia's laughter. They weren't rich by any means, but they were happy. Their needs met and their dreams within reach. Jack had recently started his own small construction company, pouring his savings and heart into the venture. Alina supported his dream, picking up extra tutoring hours to help make ends meet during the company's fledgling months. Zach was in his senior year of high school, his sights set on a music scholarship to UNC. Mia, a budding artist, filled sketchbooks with her colorful creations, dreaming of one day seeing her work in galleries. But fate had other plans for the Mercers. It began with a series of small misfortunes. A major client backing out of a contract with Jack's company, Elena's hours at school being cut due to budget constraints. These setbacks were manageable, if stressful. The real blow came on a rainy Tuesday evening in October. Jack was driving home from a job site when a distracted driver ran a red light, plowing into the driver's side of his truck. The impact was devastating. Jack survived, but barely. He was rushed to the hospital with multiple fractures, a severe concussion, and internal bleeding. The next few weeks were a blur of hospital corridors, hushed conversations with doctors, and mounting medical bills. Elena took a leave of absence from work to be by Jack's side, while Zach stepped up to care for Mia and keep the household running. As Jack's recovery progressed at an agonizingly slow pace, the financial toll became unbearable. Their health insurance covered only a fraction of the mounting expenses. Elena was forced to dip into their savings, then their retirement fund. Zach reluctantly put his college plans on hold, picking up shifts at a local diner to help with the bills. Just when they thought things couldn't get worse, they did. The bank foreclosed on their home, unable to wait any longer for the mortgage payments they'd fallen behind on. Elena, exhausted and overwhelmed, forgot to renew their car insurance, leading to a hefty fine when she was pulled over for a broken taillight. In the span of 3 months, the Mercers went from living the American dream, facing a nightmare. They were forced to move into a small, run-down apartment on the outskirts of town. Their possessions, carefully curated over years of birthdays and Christmases, were either sold to pay bills or put in storage they could barely afford. As Christmas approached, Elena sat at their second-hand kitchen table, staring at past-due notices and trying to figure out how to make a holiday meal out of the dwindling contents of their pantry. She felt a weight on her chest, a mixture of despair and determination. They had lost so much. They still had each other. Somehow, she vowed, they would find a way through this. Little did Elena know that an unexpected encounter was about to change their lives in ways she could never have imagined. The day that would change everything for the Mercer family began like any other in their new, harsh reality. Elena woke early, the springs of the worn-out sofa bed digging into her back. She had given up the apartment's single bedroom to Jack, who was still recovering and needed the space for his physical therapy exercises. As she moved quietly through the small living area, careful not to wake Zach and Mia, who were asleep on air mattresses, Elena's eyes fell on the calendar hanging crookedly on the wall. December 23rd. 2 days until Christmas, and she had nothing to give her family. No gifts, no special meal, not even a tree. With a heavy sigh, Elena got ready for her shift at the local diner. She had taken the job recently, swallowing her pride as she served coffee to some of the same parents whose children she used to teach. As she was about to leave, Zach stirred. "Mom," called softly, "don't forget we need to pick up Dad's new prescription today." Elena's heart sank. The prescription. How could she have forgotten? It was expensive, even with the generic option, and she was still short after last week's groceries. "I'll figure it out, honey," she assured Zach, hoping her voice didn't betray her uncertainty. "You focus on your shift at the garage, okay?" As Elena walked to the bus stop, her mind raced with possibilities. Could she ask her boss for an advance? Pawn her wedding ring? The thought made her stomach churn. Jack needed that medication. The diner was unusually busy for a weekday morning. As Elena rushed between tables, refilling coffee cups and taking orders, she overheard snippets of conversation about a VIP visiting Charlotte for a rally. She paid little attention, too focused on calculating tips and hoping to make enough for Jack's prescription. It was nearing the end of her shift when the bell above the door chimed, signaling new customers. Elena, wiping down a recently vacated table, called out automatically, "Take a seat anywhere. I'll be right with you." "Thank you, that's very kind," replied a voice that made Elena freeze. It was a voice she had heard countless times on television, a voice that was unmistakable. She turned slowly, her eyes widening as she took in the scene before her. There, standing in the entranceway of the modest diner, was former President Donald Trump, accompanied by a small entourage of Secret Service agents and aides. The diner fell silent, all eyes on the unexpected visitor. Trump, seemingly oblivious to the stir he was causing, made his way to a booth by the window. "I hear you have the best apple pie in Charlotte," he announced to no one in particular. "I hope that's true." Elena stood rooted to the spot, her mind whirling. This had to be some sort of bizarre dream, right? But as her manager nudged her forward, hissing, "Don't just stand there, take his order," she realized this was all too real. On shaky legs, Elena approached Trump's table. Up close, she was struck by how ordinary he seemed. Just a man wanting some pie, albeit a man who had once been the most powerful person in the world. "Welcome to Sally's Diner," Elena managed, her voice barely above a whisper. "What can I get for you today?" Trump looked up, his expression changing as he took in Elena's appearance. She knew she must look a mess, dark circles under her eyes, her uniform slightly rumpled from the long shift. "Are you all right, dear?" Trump asked, his tone surprisingly gentle. "You look like you're carrying the weight of the world on your shoulders." Maybe it was the unexpected kindness in his voice, or maybe it was the stress of the past few months finally boiling over. But Elena suddenly found herself pouring out her story. She told Trump about Jack's accident, the mounting medical bills, losing their home, her children's lost dreams. As she spoke, Elena was vaguely aware of the other diners listening in, her manager's shocked expression, of the Secret Service agents shifting uncomfortably. But she couldn't stop. It was as if a dam had broken, and all the fear and frustration she had been holding back came flooding out. When she finally fell silent, Elena was mortified. What had she done? She had just unloaded her personal problems onto a former president who had only wanted some pie. "I'm so sorry," she stammered, feeling her cheeks burn with embarrassment. "I don't know what came over me. Please, let me get you that apple pie." But as she turned to flee to the kitchen, she felt a hand on her arm. Trump was looking at her with an expression she couldn't quite read. Was it pity? Understanding? Or something else entirely? "Wait," he said, his voice firm but not unkind. "I think I'd like to hear more about your family, Elena. Why don't you sit down for a moment?" As Elena hesitantly slid into the booth across from Trump, she had no idea that this conversation was about to set in motion a chain of events that would not only change her family's life, but would capture the attention of the entire nation. In that moment, as an unlikely connection formed between a struggling mother and a former president in a small Charlotte diner, the stage was set for an act of kindness that would soon be described as unthinkable. Elena sat across from Donald Trump, her hands clasped tightly in her lap to hide their trembling. Former president listened intently as she elaborated on her family's struggles, occasionally asking questions that showed a surprising depth of understanding about the challenges faced by working-class America. As Elena spoke about Jack's ongoing recovery and the financial strain of his medical treatments, Trump's expression grew thoughtful. "You know," he said, leaning forward slightly, "I've been looking for a family to feature in my new initiative, a program to showcase the resilience of the American spirit and the power of community support. Elena, I think your family might be perfect for this." Elena's mind reeled. Was this really happening? Was Donald Trump, the businessman turned president, offering to help her family? It seemed too incredible to be true. As if reading her thoughts, Trump continued, "Now, I know what you're thinking. Why would I want to help? Well, let me tell you, I've been where you are. Not exactly, of course, but I know what it's like to face seemingly insurmountable odds. And I believe that with the right support, any American can overcome their challenge." He went on to outline his proposal. Trump's foundation would pay off the Mercers' medical debts and cover Jack's ongoing treatments. They would provide resources for Jack to retrain in a less physically demanding field once he was recovered enough. Zach's college tuition would be taken care of, allowing him to pursue his music dreams. And Mia would receive a scholarship to attend art classes. In return, the Mercers would participate in a documentary series highlighting their journey from hardship to recovery, serving as an inspiration for other struggling families across the nation. Elena listened, barely able to breathe. It sounded too good to be true. A small part of her wondered if this was some sort of elaborate prank or political stunt, but as Trump spoke, his sincerity seemed genuine. "Mr. President," Lena said hesitantly, "this is incredibly generous, but why us? Surely there are families out there who need help more than we do." Trump's response surprised her. "Elena, do you know how many people walked by me on my way in here, asking for handouts or trying to get my attention? But you were just doing your job, trying to keep it together for your family. That's the kind of spirit America was built on. That's what I want to support." As the conversation continued, Elena felt a glimmer of hope she hadn't experienced in months, but she also felt a weight of responsibility. If they accepted this offer, their lives would become public in a way they had never been before. Just then, Elena's phone buzzed with a text from Zach. "Mom, where are you? We need to get Dad's prescription." The reality of their situation came crashing back. Seeing her expression change, Trump asked, "Is everything all right?" Elena explained about Jack's prescription, how she had been worried about affording it. Without hesitation, Trump pulled out his wallet and handed her several $100 bills. "Consider this in advance," he said. "We'll work out the details later, but for now, make sure your husband gets what he needs." As Elena stared at the money in her hand, she felt tears welling up in her eyes. It wasn't just the financial relief, although that was overwhelming in itself. It was the sudden realization that maybe, just maybe, things were going to be okay. Trump stood up, signaling that the impromptu meeting was coming to an end. "My team will be in touch soon to iron out the details," said. "In the meantime, Elena, keep your chin up. Your family's story is going to inspire millions." As Trump and his entourage prepared to leave, the other diners, who had been pretending not to eavesdrop, broke into spontaneous applause. Elena felt her cheeks flush, a mix of embarrassment and gratitude washing over her. Watching Trump's retreating figure, Elena stood in a daze, the money still clutched in her hand. Her manager approached, a look of disbelief on his face. "Elena, what just happened?" She turned to him, her voice barely above a whisper. I think our lives just changed." As the reality of the situation began to sink in, Elena was hit with a wave of emotions. Hope, excitement, and a tinge of fear. What would this mean for her family? How would they handle being in the public eye? And how would she explain this to Jack and the kids? With shaking hands, she pulled out her phone to call Zach. As she dialed, she noticed missed calls from both her children. Taking a deep breath, she pressed the call button. "Mom," Zach's worried voice came through. "Where have you been? We've been trying to reach you. Dad's not feeling well, and we really need that medication." "Zach, honey," Elena said, trying to keep her voice steady, "I'm on my way. And something's happened, something big. I'll explain everything when I get home." As she hung up, Elena realized that this revelation was just the beginning. The real challenge would be navigating the changes that were about to come, and helping her family understand and accept this unexpected turn of events. With one last glance at the diner that had just become the setting for this life-changing encounter, Elena stepped out into the crisp December air. She'd entered the diner that morning as a struggling waitress, worried about making ends meet. She was leaving as a woman with renewed hope and a future that suddenly seemed bright with possibility. As she made her way to the pharmacy, then home to her family, Elena's mind raced with the story she was about to tell. A story of an ordinary day that had turned extraordinary. of a chance encounter that had led to an unthinkable act of kindness. Little did she know that this was just the beginning of a journey that would not only transform her family's life, but would soon capture the attention of the entire nation. Elena's hand hovered over the doorknob of their small apartment, her heart pounding. On the other side of this door was her family, her injured husband, her son who had put his dreams on hold, her daughter who had grown up too fast in the wake of their misfortunes. How could she explain what had just happened? Would they even believe her? Taking a deep breath, she pushed the door open. The scene that greeted her was all too familiar. Jack propped up on the sofa, his face etched with pain. Zach pacing anxiously. Mia curled up in the corner, sketching furiously, her way of coping with stress. "Mom," Zach exclaimed, relief evident in his voice. "Finally, did you get Dad's medicine?" Elena nodded, pulling the prescription bag from her purse. As she handed it to Jack, she knew she couldn't delay the inevitable. "Everyone," she said, her voice trembling slightly, "I need to tell you something. Something incredible happened today." Over the next hour, Elena recounted her encounter with Donald Trump, watching as her family's expressions shifted from disbelief to shocked, cautious hope. When she finished, the room fell into a stunned silence. Jack was the first to speak. "Elena, honey," he said slowly, "are you sure this is real? It's not some kind of scam?" Elena understood his skepticism. After months of setbacks and disappointments, it was hard to believe that their luck could change so dramatically. "I know it sounds crazy," she admitted, "but I was there. It happened, and we need to decide what we're going to do about it." This was the crux of the matter. Trump's offer was generous beyond their wildest dreams, but it came with strings attached. Their lives would become public. Their struggles, their recovery, all of it would be documented for the world to see. "We'd be like reality TV stars," Mia said, a mix of excitement and apprehension in her voice. Zach, ever the practical one, pointed out the potential downside. "What about privacy? Once we're in the public eye, we can't just go back to being normal. And what if people disagree with Trump's politics? We could face backlash." These were all valid concerns, and ones that Elena had been grappling with since leaving the diner. But as she looked around at her family, at Jack's pained expression, at the worry lines that had no place on Zach's young face, the worn-out sketchbook Mia clutched, she knew what she had to do. "I think we should accept," Elena said firmly. The words hung in the air, heavy with implication. "Are you sure, Mom?" Zach asked, his brow furrowed. Elena nodded. "Look at us. We're barely hanging on. This offer, it's not just about the money. It's a chance for your father to get the treatment he needs, for you to go to college, for Mia to pursue her art. Yes, there will be challenges, but haven't we already been facing challenges every day?" Jack reached out, taking Elena's hand in his. "I trust you," said simply. "If you think this is the right decision for our family, then I'm with you." Mia nodded enthusiastically, while Zach gave a reluctant but understanding nod. With that, the decision was made. Elena contacted Trump's team, and within days, the wheels were set in motion. Consequences of their decision became apparent almost immediately. A team of producers descended on their small apartment, discussing plans for the documentary series. Medical specialists arrived to assess Jack's condition and develop a comprehensive treatment plan. Financial advisors helped them navigate the sudden influx of funds, setting up trusts for the children's education and a budget for their immediate needs. The media caught wind of the story, and soon reporters were camped outside their building, clamoring for interviews. The Mercers found themselves thrust into a spotlight they were ill-prepared for. There were positive consequences, too. Jack's pain began to ease as he received top-notch medical care. Zach tentatively began to plan for college again, researching music programs with a renewed sense of purpose. Mia's eyes lit up as she explored the art supplies provided by Trump's foundation. The exposure came at a cost. Old acquaintances came out of the woodwork, some offering genuine support, others seeking to capitalize on the Mercers' newfound connection to Trump. Elena's social media accounts were flooded with messages, many supportive, but some critical of their association with the controversial former president. The family's every move became subject to public scrutiny. When Elena splurged on a new outfit for a TV interview, there were snide comments about responsible spending. When Jack had a setback in his recovery, trolls accused them of exaggerating his condition for sympathy. The children struggled with their newfound notoriety. Zach, once excited about college, now worried about fitting in with classmates who might judge him based on the documentary. Mia, initially thrilled by the attention her art received, became self-conscious about creating under the public gaze. Elena found herself second-guessing every decision, aware that their choices were no longer just their own, but fodder for public consumption. The weight of responsibility, not just for her family's welfare, but for living up to the trust Trump had placed in them, was often overwhelming. There were moments when Elena wondered if she had made the right choice. Late at night, when the apartment was quiet and the weight of their new reality settled heavily on her shoulders, she would replay that day in the diner, questioning if she should have simply walked away. But then she would look at Jack, sleeping peacefully for the first time in months, no longer racked with pain. She would see Zach, hunched over college brochures, daring to dream again. She would watch Mia, lost in her art, creating with a freedom she'd never had before. In those moments, Elena knew that despite the challenges, despite the loss of privacy and the pressure of public scrutiny, she had made the right decision. They had been given a second chance, not just at financial stability, but at pursuing their dreams and making a difference in the world. As Elena drifted off to sleep, she resolved to face whatever consequences came their way. They had weathered storms before, and they would weather this one too. Together, family. Little did she know that the biggest challenges and the most profound changes were yet to come. As the Mercer family adjusted to their new reality, a secondary plot began to unfold, centering around Zach. The 17-year-old, once solely focused on his music and getting into college, found himself thrust into an unexpected role as the family's unofficial social media manager. It started innocently enough. Zach, being the most tech-savvy member of the family, took it upon himself to help manage the flood of messages and comments pouring in through various social media platforms. What began as a way to shield his parents from online negativity soon evolved into something more. Zach discovered he had a knack for crafting engaging posts, sharing updates about his family's journey in a way that resonated with their growing audience. He started a YouTube channel documenting their day-to-day life, offering a behind-the-scenes look at what it was like to be part of this unique experiment. His videos, a mix of candid family moments, progress updates on Jack's recovery, and Zach's own musical performances, quickly gained a following. People were drawn to his authentic, unfiltered approach and his talent for finding humor in even the most challenging situation. As Zach's online presence grew, so did his confidence. The boy who had once been hesitant about attending college now found himself fielding offers from universities, impressed by his social media savvy and musical abilities. Music producers reached out, interested in collaborating. Marketing agencies offered internships. But with this newfound influence came new pressures and ethical dilemmas. Zach began to receive sponsorship offers from companies wanting to capitalize on the family's story. Some of these offers were substantial, promising financial security beyond what Trump's program provided. Zach found himself at a crossroads. Should he accept these offers, potentially compromising the authenticity that had drawn people to their story in the first place? Or should he turn them down, possibly missing out on opportunities to further help his family? Moreover, Zach started to notice how his posts could sway public opinion. A heartfelt video about Jack's struggles could lead to an outpouring of support and donations to their chosen charity. Casual mention of a local business that had helped them could result in a flood of new customers for that store. With this realization came a sense of responsibility that both excited and terrified Zach. He was no longer just a kid sharing his family's story. He was becoming an influencer in his own right. This development did not go unnoticed by Trump's team. They saw in Zach a potential youth ambassador for their program, someone who could connect with a younger demographic and broaden the appeal of their initiative. They approached Zach with a proposal to become an official spokesperson for the program, sharing not just his family's story, but those of other families being helped. The role came with perks, media training, networking opportunities, even a modest stipend. Zach was conflicted. On one hand, this was an incredible opportunity, a chance to make a real difference and potentially launch a career he had never even considered. On the other hand, he worried about the increased scrutiny this would bring and how it might affect his family and his own future plans. He turned to Elena for advice. "Mom," he said one evening after laying out the situation, "I don't know what to do. This could be amazing, but what if I mess it up? What if I say the wrong thing and it hurts our family or the other families in the program?" Elena looked at her son, marveling at how much he had matured in such a short time. "Zach," she said gently, "the fact that you're worried about these things shows that you're ready for this responsibility. Whatever you decide, Father and I will support you." As Zach mulled over his decision, he realized that this was about more than just him or even his family. It was about using the platform they had been given to help others, be a voice for families struggling like they had been. With a mix of trepidation and determination, Zach decided to accept the role. As he shook hands with Trump's team, finalizing the agreement, he felt the weight of expectations settle on his shoulders. But along with it came a sense of purpose and the knowledge that, ready or not, he was embarking on a new chapter in his life. Little did Zach know that his decision would not only change his own trajectory, but would also have far-reaching implications for the Mercer family's journey and the entire program itself. As the Mercer family navigated their new life in the public eye, the dynamics between them began to shift and evolve in unexpected ways. Jack and Alina's relationship, once strained by financial stress and Jack's health issues, found new strength. Shared experience of sudden fame and the challenges it brought drew them closer together. They became each other's anchors in the storm of public attention, finding moments of quiet intimacy amidst the chaos. One evening, as they sat on their small balcony watching the sunset, a luxury they'd rarely had time for before, Jack took Elena's hand. "You know," he said softly, "I never thought I'd say this, but I'm grateful for what happened to us. Not the accident, of course, but this, being given a second chance, seeing you and the kids flourish, it's like falling in love with you all over again." Elena felt tears prick her eyes. "Oh, Jack," he whispered, leaning into him, "we've been through so much, but I wouldn't change it if it meant not having this moment with you." Their renewed connection had a ripple effect on the entire family. The children, seeing their parents' united front, felt more secure despite the upheaval in their lives. Zach and Mia's sibling relationship deepened as well. Once prone to typical teenage squabbles, they now found themselves united in the unique experience of growing up in the spotlight. Zach became protective of his younger sister, helping her navigate social media and shielding her from online negativity. Mia, in turn, became Zach's confidant, offering a listening ear when the pressures of his new role as a spokesperson became overwhelming. One night, Zach found Mia crying in her room, overwhelmed by a particularly harsh comment on one of her online art posts. Without a word, he sat down beside her, put an arm around her shoulders, and started strumming his guitar softly. As Mia's sobs subsided, she picked up her sketch pad and began to draw, inspired by her brother's melody. It became a ritual for them, Zach playing music while Mia drew, a wordless communication that brought them comfort. The relationship between Elena and her children evolved as well. She found herself learning from them as much as guiding them. Zach taught her about social media strategy and how to handle online interactions. Mia showed her how art could be a form of therapy, encouraging Elena to join her in sketching sessions as a way to de-stress. Elena, in turn, worked hard to maintain a sense of normalcy for her children amidst the craziness of their new life. She instituted weekly, normal family nights, where they would turn off all devices, ignore the outside world, and just be together, playing board games, watching movies, or cooking favorite meals. Perhaps the most profound change was in Jack's relationship with his children. Before the accident, Jack had been the typical busy father, often too preoccupied with work to fully engage with his kids' lives. Now, forced to slow down by his recovery, he found himself truly seeing his children for the first time in years. He started having long conversations with Zach about music, rediscovering a shared passion. He would sit for hours watching Mia draw, marveling at her talent and asking questions about her artistic process. These moments of connection, born out of adversity, became precious to all of them. Mercer's relationships extended beyond their immediate family as well. They formed close bonds with the production team documenting their story. Cameraman Dave became like an uncle to the kids. The sound technician, Maria, often stayed late after shoots to teach Zach about audio engineering. They also connected with other families in Trump's program. Monthly meetups were organized, where these families could share experiences and support each other. The Mercers found particular kinship with the Goldsteins, a family from Michigan facing similar challenges. The two families became close friends, offering each other a unique understanding of their shared journey. However, not all relationship changes were positive. Some old friends drifted away, uncomfortable with the Mercers' new status or disagreeing with their association with Trump. Elena's sister, once close, became distant, seemingly jealous of the family's changed circumstance. The family also had to learn to navigate relationships with fans and followers. They received countless messages daily from people who felt they knew the Mercers intimately through the documentary and social media. Balancing appreciation for this support with maintaining personal boundaries became an ongoing challenge. One particularly poignant moment came when a young girl battling cancer reached out to Mia, inspired by the Mercer family's story. Mia, deeply moved, began corresponding with the girl, sending her encouraging drawings and messages. This connection not only boosted the girl's spirits during her treatment, but also gave Mia a profound sense of purpose. As the months passed, the Mercers found that their relationships, both within the family and with the outside world, had become a complex tapestry of old and new connections, each thread strengthening their resilience and shaping their journey in unexpected ways. Elena reflected on these changes one evening as she watched her family interact during dinner. Jack was animatedly discussing a new physical therapy technique with Zach, while Mia sketched the scene, her eyes darting between her family and her paper. The love and connection between them was palpable, stronger perhaps than it had ever been. "You know," Elena said, causing everyone to pause and look at her. "A year ago, I never could have imagined us here like this, but I wouldn't trade it for anything." The family nodded in agreement, a moment of shared understanding passing between them. They had been through so much, but these strengthened relationships were perhaps the most valuable outcome of their extraordinary journey. Climax of the Mercer family's journey came on a crisp autumn day, exactly 1 year after their fateful encounter with Donald Trump in the diner. The family had been invited to a gala event in New York City. Trump's foundation would be showcasing the success stories from their program, the Mercers as the featured guests. The day started with a flurry of activity. Elena helped Mia into a new dress, marveling at how grown-up her daughter looked. Jack, now walking with only a slight limp, adjusted his tie in the mirror, a nervous but excited energy about him. Zach paced the hotel room, running through his speech one last time. As they made their way to the venue in a sleek black car provided by the foundation, Elena felt a mix of emotions. Pride in how far they had come, anxiety about the spotlight they were about to step into, and a lingering disbelief that this was now their life. The gala was a glittering affair, attended by celebrities, politicians, and business leaders. As the Mercers walked the red carpet, cameras flashing all around them, Elena gripped Jack's hand tightly. This was so far removed from their life a year ago, it felt almost surreal. Inside, they mingled with other families from the program, exchanging stories and words of encouragement. Elena was struck by the diversity of experiences represented. Families who had faced medical crises, natural disasters, job losses, all brought together by this unexpected lifeline. The moment of truth came when Trump himself took the stage. He spoke about the program's successes, the lives changed, the hope restored. And then, with a flourish, he introduced the Mercers. As they walked onto the stage, the spotlight blinding and the applause deafening, Elena felt a sudden wave of panic. What if they didn't live up to expectations? What if their story wasn't inspirational enough? But as Jack began to speak, his voice strong and clear, Elena's fears melted away. He talked about their struggles, their lowest moments, and how the program had given them not just financial support, but a renewed sense of purpose. Zach followed, discussing the power of community and how their story had connected them with people across the country. Mia, overcoming her shyness, shared how art had helped her cope, how she now used it to inspire other children facing challenges. When it was Elena's turn, she looked out at the sea of faces and took a deep breath. A year ago, she began, I was a waitress in a small diner, wondering how I was going to afford my husband's medication. Today, I stand before you, not just as a beneficiary of this program, but as living proof that with the right support, any family can overcome seemingly insurmountable odds. As she spoke, Elena noticed movement in the wings of the stage. To her shock, she saw the young girl Mia had been corresponding with, the one battling cancer, being wheeled onto the stage by her parent. The girl was thin and pale, but her eyes shone with excitement. Mia, spotting her friend, rushed over without hesitation. The two girls embraced, tears streaming down their faces. The audience, moved by this unexpected display of genuine emotion, burst into applause. Trump, seizing the moment, joined the Mercers on stage. This, he said, gesturing to the emotional scene, this is what it's all about, not just helping one family, but creating a ripple effect of hope and kindness. As the applause swelled, Elena looked at her family. Dak standing tall and proud, Zach with his arm around Mia and her friend, all of them beaming with joy and a sense of accomplishment. In that moment, she realized that they had become more than just recipients of help. They had become symbols of resilience, catalysts for change. The gala ended with a standing ovation, but for the Mercers, it felt like a beginning rather than an end. As they left the stage, Elena knew that their journey was far from over. They had been given an incredible platform, and with it came the responsibility to continue making a difference. As they posed for photos with Trump, other families from the program, and various dignitaries, Elena felt a sense of purpose solidify within her. Whatever came next, they would face it together, not just as a family, but as part of a larger community dedicated to spreading hope and creating change. The Mercers had lost everything, but in that loss, they had found something far more valuable: a new mission, a wider family, and the power to transform not just their own lives, but the lives of others. As they stepped off the stage and into their new future, Elena knew that the most exciting chapter of their story was just beginning. In the weeks following the gala, the Mercer family found themselves at a crossroads. The event had catapulted them into an even brighter spotlight, bringing with it new opportunities and challenges. As they sat around their kitchen table, no longer in the cramped apartment, but in a modest house provided by the foundation, they faced a crucial decision. Trump's team had approached them with a proposal, a nationwide tour to promote the program, sharing their story with audiences across the country. It was an exciting prospect, but one that came with significant implications for their lives. I don't know, Dak said, rubbing his temple. The tour sounds amazing, but what about my ongoing treatment and the kids' school? Elena nodded, understanding his concerns. And what about the privacy we've been trying to maintain? This would put us even more in the public eye. Zach, who had been quiet until now, spoke up. But think about the impact we could have. Our story has already helped so many people. Imagine what we could do on a larger scale. Mia, twirling a pencil between her fingers, added softly, maybe we could visit children's hospitals along the way. I could share my art with kids who are going through tough times. The family debated late into the night, weighing the pros and cons. Finally, they came to a decision. They would embark on the tour, but on their own terms. They proposed a modified schedule to Trump's team, one that would allow for Jack's treatments and the children's education. They also requested that a portion of each event be dedicated to local charities in the cities they visited. To their surprise and relief, Trump's team was receptive to their proposals. The tour was scheduled to begin in a month, giving the family time to prepare. As they began their journey, crisscrossing the country in a customized RV, the Mercers encountered both triumphs and challenges. Their story resonated deeply in small towns and big cities alike. People lined up for hours to attend their events, sharing their own struggles and finding hope in the Mercers' journey. But the increased exposure also brought renewed criticism. Some accused the family of being political pawns, while others questioned the authenticity of their story. Constant travel and public appearances began to take a toll, especially on Jack. His recovery was still ongoing. One particularly difficult moment came during an event in Chicago. As Elena was speaking, a man in the audience stood up, shouting accusations about the family profiting from their misfortune. The room fell silent, all eyes on Elena. For a moment she faltered, the man's words cutting deep. But then she saw her family in the wings of the stage. Jack giving her an encouraging nod, Zach and Mia holding hands, their faces a mixture of concern and support. Drawing strength from them, Elena took a deep breath and addressed the man directly. "Sir," she said, her voice steady, "I understand your skepticism. A year ago I might have felt the same way. But our story is real. Our struggles were real. And the help we received was real. We're not here to convince you of anything. We're here to offer hope to those who might need it, just as hope was offered to us when we needed it most." Her honest, heartfelt response seemed to diffuse the tension in the room. The man, looking somewhat abashed, sat down. The event continued, but the incident left a mark on the family. That night, as they gathered in their RV, Elena broached the subject they had all been avoiding. "Maybe this tour isn't the right way to give back," she said softly. "Maybe we need to find a different path." Family fell into a thoughtful silence. It was Zach who finally broke it. "What if," he said slowly, "instead of just telling our story, we used what we've learned to directly help others?" His words sparked a new idea. Over the next few hours, the family brainstormed, their excitement growing as a plan took shape. They would complete the tour as promised, but with a new focus. Instead of simply sharing their story, they would use each stop as an opportunity to connect with local organizations, offering their unique insights and experiences to help other families in crisis. The next morning, they presented their idea to Trump's team. There was some initial resistance. This wasn't the inspirational tour they had envisioned. But the Mercers stood firm, united in their conviction that this was the right path forward. To their relief and surprise, Trump himself intervened, impressed by the family's initiative. "This," he declared, "is exactly the kind of thinking we need. You're not just sharing hope, creating it." With renewed purpose, the Mercers resumed their tour. In each city, they still shared their story, but now they also rolled up their sleeves, working alongside local charities and community organizations. Zach used his social media skills to amplify the voices of small nonprofits. Mia organized art therapy sessions for children in hospitals. Jack, drawing on his experience, counseled families dealing with medical debt. Elena found herself in a new role as well, advocating for policy changes to help families facing similar crises. She spoke at town halls and met with local politicians, her firsthand experience lending weight to her words. The tour became more than just a promotional event. It evolved into a grassroots movement. Other families from Trump's program joined in, each contributing their unique skills and experiences. What had started as one family's journey was blossoming into a network of support and action across the country. As the tour neared its end, the Mercers realized that they had found a way to resolve the conflict between their desire to give back and their need to maintain their own well-being. They had transformed their public platform into a tool for tangible change, all while staying true to their values as a family. Their last event, held in their hometown of Charlotte, was a celebration not just of their journey, but of the countless lives they had touched along the way. As Elena looked out at the crowd, a sea of familiar and new faces, all connected by threads of compassion and shared experience, she felt a profound sense of peace. They had lost everything, been given an unthinkable second chance, and found a way to turn that chance into an opportunity for others. It wasn't a perfect resolution. There would always be challenges and critics, but it was a path forward that felt right, a way to honor the help they had received by paying it forward. As the family stood together on stage, hands clasped, Elena realized that they had found something precious. A purpose larger than themselves, a way to transform their personal tragedy into a force for positive change. The conclusion of the nationwide tour marked a significant turning point for the Mercer family. As they returned home, they found themselves at another crossroads, facing a decision that would shape their future. Trump's foundation, impressed by the impact of their modified tour, offered the Mercers a permanent role. They would become ambassadors for the program, with the freedom to shape their involvement according to their own vision. It was an attractive offer, promising financial security and a continued platform for their work. However, the family's experiences during the tour had sparked new ambitions and ideas. They had seen firsthand the gaps in support for families in crisis, the need for systemic changes beyond what any single program could provide. During a family meeting that stretched late into the night, they debated their options. Jack, his health much improved, spoke of his desire to start a nonprofit focused on helping injured workers navigate the complex healthcare system. Elena shared her growing interest in advocacy work, particularly in education reform to support children from families in crisis. Zach, his confidence grown over the past year, proposed using his social media skills to launch a digital platform connecting struggling families with resources and support networks. Mia, wise beyond her years, suggested incorporating art therapy programs into existing community centers. As dawn broke, the Mercers reached a decision. They would graciously decline the foundation's offer of a permanent role. Instead, they would use the skills, connections, and platform they had gained to launch their own initiative, the Mercer Foundation for Family Resilience. Their plan was ambitious. The foundation would serve as an umbrella organization, encompassing each family member's passion project while working towards a common goal, empowering families to overcome crises and build resilient communities. When they announced their decision, the response was mixed. Trump's team was disappointed to lose their star family, but supportive of their vision. Some critics saw it as a betrayal, accusing the Mercers of using the program as a stepping stone. Others praised their initiative, seeing it as a natural evolution of their journey. The Mercers forged ahead, undeterred. They used their savings from the past year to secure a small office space. Elena and Jack took crash courses in nonprofit management. Zach began developing their website and social media strategy. Mia designed their logo, a phoenix rising from ashes, symbolizing rebirth and resilience. Launch day arrived 6 months later, as Elena cut the ribbon to their modest headquarters, surrounded by her family, local supporters, and media. She felt a profound sense of coming full circle. They had lost everything, been given an unthinkable second chance, and now they were in a position to offer that same hope to others. In her speech, Elena addressed the crowd. "A year and a half ago, we were a family in crisis, unsure of our future. Today, we stand before you not as victims who were saved, but as partners in the work of lifting up others. Our journey isn't over. In many ways, it's just beginning. But now, we move forward not just as recipients of kindness, but as creators of change." As applause filled the air, the Mercers embraced, their eyes shining with tears of joy and determination. They had found their new direction, a path that honored their past, while paving the way for a future dedicated to serving others. A family that had lost everything was now poised to give back in ways they had never imagined possible. As the Mercer Family Foundation for Family Resilience celebrated its first anniversary, each member of the family found themselves reflecting on their extraordinary journey and the profound ways in which they had grown. Elena, once a waitress struggling to make ends meet, had blossomed into a confident public speaker and skilled nonprofit leader. She marveled at her own transformation as she prepared for a meeting with state legislators to discuss policy changes for families in crisis. "You know," she confided to Jack one evening, "sometimes I still expect to wake up and find myself back in that diner, worried about how we'll pay the bills. But then I remember everything we've been through, everything we've accomplished, and I realize this is real." "You did this?" Jack, whose injury had once left him feeling helpless and defeated, now moved with purpose and energy. His work with injured workers had given him a new lease on life, allowing him to turn his traumatic experience into a source of hope for others. "I never thought I'd say this," he told Elena, "but in a way, that accident was the best thing that ever happened to me. Not the pain or the setbacks, but where it led us. I feel more alive, more useful than I ever did before." Zach, the teenager who had put his dreams on hold to support his family, had grown into a savvy social media entrepreneur. His digital platform connecting struggling families with resources had taken off, attracting partnerships with major tech companies and praise from social work professionals. One day, as he scrolled through messages from families his platform had helped, Zach realized how much he had matured. "Mom?" he called out, voice thick with emotion. "Remember when I was worried about fitting in at college? Now I can't imagine doing anything other than this. It's like I've found my calling." Mia, the youngest of the Mercers, had perhaps undergone the most remarkable transformation. The shy girl who once hid behind her sketchbooks now confidently led art therapy sessions for children in hospitals and community centers. Her artwork, inspired by their family's journey, had gained recognition in galleries across the country. "I used to draw to escape," Mia told her art students one day, "but now I draw to connect, to show others that they're not alone, that there's beauty even in the hardest times." As a family, the Mercers had grown closer through their shared mission. The struggles that had once threatened to tear them apart had become the foundation of their strength. They had learned to communicate more openly, to support each other's dreams while working towards a common goal. Their relationships outside the family had evolved as well. The Mercers had become a bridge between different communities, connecting wealthy donors with grassroots organizations, linking policymakers with the families their decisions affected. They had learned to navigate the complex worlds of politics, media, and philanthropy without losing sight of their core values. There had been challenges along the way, of course. Pressures of public life sometimes strained their relationships. There were moments of doubt, times when the enormity of their task felt overwhelming. But they had learned to face these challenges together, drawing strength from each other and from the families they serve. Their perspective on wealth and success had shifted dramatically. While they were now comfortable financially, the Mercers found that their true richness lay in the lives they touched, the changes they inspired. "We're not just helping people," Elena often said in her speeches. "We're empowering them to help themselves and others. It's like dropping a pebble in a pond. The ripples keep spreading." As they looked towards the future, the Mercers felt a mix of excitement and humility. They knew their work was far from done. There were still families out there facing the same desperation they had known, still systems that needed changing, still hope to be spread. But now they faced these challenges not as victims of circumstance, but as agents of change. They had grown from a family in crisis to a family with a mission, their individual strengths combining to create something powerful and enduring. On the anniversary night, as they gathered in their backyard for a quiet celebration, Jack raised a toast. "The second chances," he said, his voice filled with gratitude, "and to the power of a family united." As their glasses clinked together, the Mercers shared a look of understanding. They had been to the brink of losing everything, but in that loss, they had found their true selves and their shared purpose. Their journey of growth, both individual and collective, only just begun. As the stars twinkled above their backyard gathering, the Mercer family stood together, their arms around each other, a living testament to the power of resilience, unity, and purpose. Their journey had been nothing short of extraordinary, from the depths of despair in a small diner to the heights of national recognition. From a family on the brink of collapse to a force for positive change. Through it all, they had discovered strengths they never knew they possessed, and a capacity for growth that continued to amaze them. Elena, looking at her family, reflected on the themes that had defined their journey. "We've learned," she said softly, "that rock bottom can be a foundation to build upon. That when you've lost everything, you're free to become anything." Jack nodded, adding, "And we've seen that true wealth isn't about money in the bank, but about the lives you touch and the changes you inspire." Zach, his eyes shining with purpose, chimed in. "We've learned that our voices matter, that even the smallest actions can create ripples of change." Mia, wise beyond her years, concluded, "And most importantly, we've learned that together, we're stronger than we ever could be alone." Their story had become more than just a tale of a fortunate encounter with a former president. It had evolved into a powerful narrative about the resilience of the human spirit, the strength found in family bonds, and the transformative power of giving back. The Mercers had lost everything, but in that loss, they had gained a new perspective on what truly mattered. They had been given an unthinkable second chance, and they had used that chance not just to rebuild their own lives, but to create opportunities for others to do the same. As they stood together under the night sky, the Mercers knew that their journey was far from over. There would be more challenges to face, more families to help, more changes to inspire. But they were ready for whatever lay ahead, secure in the knowledge that together they could weather any storm and emerge stronger. Their story was a reminder to all who heard it that even in the darkest times, hope can be found, rock bottom can be a new beginning, and that with love, determination, and a willingness to embrace change, any family can rewrite their own story.